the principle there that allows you to see what the future might look like when it's exponential and not linear is imagining any rate of improvement. And so this is how I think always in my business is when I'm thinking about which bet to make, I imagine if there's just 5% rate of improvement per quarter, eventually this happens. And so with some things we've done on this show, we started 2 years ago, and for the first 18 months, it didn't work. And then 6 months ago, it exploded because eventually the rate of improvement got to the point where it was viable. And now it's the single most important disruptive thing we've ever done. And I think about the example I just gave there of agents. I'm like, if you just imagine any rate of improvement, just imagine 1% a year. And obviously it's way more than that, but imagine 1% a month. Eventually we get to a point where a team of agents
if nothing disrupts it, one thing that is very likely to happen in the next 3 years is the whole thing comes crashing down. It doesn't financially make any sense to build the data centers that we're building.
But you're not saying that AI is going to disappear.
The technology itself is remarkable, but the financial model just makes no sense whatsoever at the moment.
At the moment, which is kind of typical of bubbles, right?
So over the last 180 years, there have been infrastructure build-outs that have bankrupted the economy consistently again and again and again. In fact, there's a pattern. Whenever we spend more than 3% of the overall GDP of the economy on an infrastructure build-out, it bankrupts the economy briefly for 10 years, right? So this happened when we did railway tracks. In fact, it happened twice in the UK and twice in the USA. Then we bankrupted ourselves putting the electrification grid in place. We bankrupted ourselves putting highways in place. Now, there's something that makes this worse than ever before. And that is that when we built train tracks, they lasted for 100 years. When we built roads, they lasted 50 plus years. The telecommunications, fiber optics, 30 years. All of these investments were multi-decade investments that we could get benefit from and leverage for decades. Data centers last 3 to 4 years before they need to be replaced. So we are building something that has a 3 to 4 year life cycle that costs hundreds of billions, and it has to be replaced every few years. And there is no financial model attached to this that justifies it at all. So one thing that I'm predicting is that in 2029, 100 years after the Great Depression, we will see a massive financial meltdown based off the back of these data centers that have been developed at the moment.
And for someone that doesn't know what a data center is?
So it's like a big Walmart or an airport filled with computers, and those computers are running AI, right? So every time you go on AI, you're actually, your request is going off to a big computer in a Walmart-sized building somewhere. But those GPUs, those computer stacks, those big ginormous computers, they are like iPhones. They last about 3 years before they get superseded. This year ahead, we're going to spend $650 billion. $650 billion sounds like so abstract. It's the equivalent of giving every single person in America an iPhone Pro with AirPods. But here's the crazy thing. 95% of people who are being given the free iPhone are not willing to pay for it. And the tiny number of people who are willing to pay for it, they're only willing to pay $20 a month, most of them. So this $20 a month, everyone's getting a free iPhone effectively, and then a small 5% of people are willing to pay $20 a month. The numbers are just astronomically out of balance.
The numbers are astronomically out of balance. So what happens next? You're predicting in 2029 there's a financial crash.
There's not a 0% chance that the financial model around what we've launched with AI is catastrophic. It's a huge financial problem that very few people are talking about.
So let's talk about, in a world of AI, what are the skills that survive? And what are the professions that you believe survive? If you've got children, Daniel, when they come to you and they say, Dad, I'm hearing about all this AI stuff and I've seen these robots in China doing backflips. What should I be learning now to make sure that the next 20, 30, 40 years of my career is prosperous?
It's the entrepreneurial skill set that is the most important skill set. It is essentially the skills of identifying an opportunity, prototyping fast and cheap experiments to see if you've got something that people want, taking it to market, making your initial sales, scaling up to your addressable market, and then exiting and then coming up with a new idea.